All right, welcome everybody. This is Dr. Keith. Hope you're all doing well. Excellent. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late there. It looks like logging in. I'm usually early, but it's been one of those mornings. I'm just grabbing things here and then we'll get going. Good to see a lot of familiar faces. Excellent. All right, so again, just give me a thumbs up. Can everybody hear me okay, first of all? That's important, right? That you can hear me. And then can you see my slides there? Just want to make sure we're good to go. I am recording this, so thank you, sir. I am recording this, so again, it will go out later on as well, so that you can share it or listen to it again or throw it in the trash, whichever you prefer. Hopefully not throw it in the trash. But anyway, glad to have you all. So today, and I know I say this a lot, but today literally will probably be 30 minutes is all, because when I send out the recording, I also link in the presentation that I did live, about a month ago on the cloud. So I did want to start by going over the cloud again and then going into the scan, but it's a pretty simple process. Okay, so I'll go over and then I'll answer any Q&As, but I would be surprised if it went much more than 30 minutes. Mike, good to see you. Mike B, Jim, excellent guys. Good to see you guys. You know, now we're getting into Q4, right? My favorite time of trading year, right? That in January, my favorite. So sound is bad. Can everybody hear me okay? I just want to make sure if it's Linda's mic or if not clear. Interesting. Let's see here. It may be my internet. Let me know if it gets worse. Hopefully not. I put the mic closer to me. Okay, so Linda's not very clear, but Mike can hear me good. So a little blurry for Linda, but okay. Well, I'll keep going. All right. Thanks, Bob. All right. Well, with that, again, welcome. You know, today we're going to talk about the cloud and then the scan specifically, right? And again, I'm pretty passionate about this because one of the questions I've had that we all have struggled with probably in our time of trading, and then since I went public a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago now, wow, you know, as I'm training new folks, the first question I get a lot is, you know, what is a trend? And the funny thing is, you know, I'd always define it based on, you know, what I've learned and what I feel for. But, you know, anybody can look at a trend depending on the time frame, and everyone can think a trend is different, right? If you look at it from a weekly standpoint versus a daily versus a 4-hour versus a 5-minute, right? Trends are different. So what I wanted to do initially was create my own indicator, okay? And that basically gives me identification of trend based on the time frame I'm on, okay? And you know, I've had this for a couple years, but have been testing it and adjusting, and then, you know, a couple months ago, I think it was ready for the public. But the goal is this, okay? And I know it's a cloud, right? So if people that know things like Ikamuchu, it looks like a cloud. It has nothing to do with those, okay? This is literally defining a trend based on the proprietary criteria I put in there, okay? It's got some moving average stuff. It's got some volume analysis. It's got quite a few different things in there, okay? So with that though, it's very simple. So again, the reason I designed that, other than for training people on when to identify trends in which directions, reversals and that, you know, it also can really help show that support and resistance. It also helps determine profit targets and stops, okay, as a one way of doing it. And you know, that's something in 15 years of trading, I'm always looking at better ways to try to maximize profits and have smaller losses, right? And anybody that tells you they have the perfect scenario, they never adjusted, they don't trade their live accounts, okay? And I think this can be very helpful. And again, my favorite trades using this cloud system as my directional bias, okay, is going in the direction of the overall trend. So you know, again, and I'll show you in live charts here in a little bit, right? But when I get a Laguerre trigger long and back in the direction of the overall trend, okay, I like that much better than counter trend trading. And I also love to use standard Bollinger Bands, except I change it to 2.5 standard deviations instead of 2. Okay. And when they come down, like in this chart here, when the cloud stayed green, right? The price came down, it almost touched that 2.5, right? But then the cloud stayed green, and then we got the green Hakanachi and so forth. Okay. And yes, I use Hakanachi candles. If you're not used to those, you can go watch some of my videos on those, but it doesn't matter. If you wanted to use regular price candles, you know, I think Hakanachi is much, much better than regular price candles for the way I trade, but that doesn't mean everybody feels that way, okay? And again, you can use this on any time frame. It automatically adjusts based on the time frame you put in Thinkorswim, okay? And again, this is for Thinkorswim. Eventually, it will definitely have it for TradeStation, okay? Okay, so as an example, and this is the same slide I showed a couple, like last time I had this webinar, okay? This is Apple, okay? So Apple, you can see down here on the left, we had the cloud red. So if you're looking to buy Apple, let's say you're holding a long-term, you're looking to hold like a long-term position or something, okay? You've got many reasons not to buy yet, okay? But any good trader, you need a solid trading system that helps you tell you when is the better opportunity now to take advantage of a change in a trend, okay? And, you know, we all know I use seasonality as a #1 indicator as well, but when do you enter? That's the key, right? Getting that actual trigger point. So in this case, right, Apple is red and then wham, it turned to green, okay? So then you can look at it based on, you know, other trading usages that you do, whether you use like an oscillator, and I'll show you exactly what I use, right? However, you then, you know, figure that you now know that we're back to the long side bias, okay? Now, what my scan has done is when it changes from red to green, it'll show you anything that you want to look at, stocks, futures, Forex. It shows you when you run the scan. Now, we just went from red to green, or we just went from green to red. Okay, that way you can look at these and decide based off of that, is it something that you're looking to then take advantage of? Okay, and you may not be. There'll be several examples that you'll look at and say, well, that's great, but you know, I don't like that trade. Okay, this is just giving you another tool in your toolbox. Okay, it's very, very important to do that. So we'll go over that. So here's an example when, you know, all of a sudden the cloud turned from green to red, right? This was lumber. Okay, so that would show up on the scan. And then you could look at lumber and decide, okay, you know, at that point when I'm looking to short that position, okay? The other thing the cloud can really help you is on this example with Apple, as the cloud starts to widen, see how it's widening? Okay, that typically means, again, you're getting more and more bullish activity, okay? And again, so can Hakanachi, but I'm really trying to focus on today's presentation with the cloud, how to use the cloud, okay? And so as it was widening, you have a pretty good feeling that, you know, price should continue. And then when you start getting some consolidation or the cloud getting narrow, making it skinnier, I call it, okay? Then you know you might be getting ready for another reversal, and that might be a good time to exit. You don't necessarily have to wait for a red cloud to exit if you went long with a green cloud, right? You can look at different points to see, okay, now we're getting to consolidation, the cloud's getting really skinny, maybe it's time for me to exit, okay? So again, when Thinkorswim, you know, again, I created a scan, which I'm going to show you live here. And what it does is it gives you the symbols that, so if you run the scan after 9:30 in the morning, okay, it'll then update and it'll give you the scans that it went from red to green or green from red the previous day, okay? That way you can look for that opportunity. So let's say you're bearish, okay? And you're looking for some short plays, okay? Well, then you can quickly go through these scans to see what changed from green to red, and you can see if that might be a good short play, or obviously vice versa for a long play, okay? So let's go. You know, I like to spend most of my time in live charts, okay? So you should be able to see this. Let me just move the seasonal over a little bit since we're not focusing on that today. Okay. Okay, so what I really want to focus on today is the cloud, not my other indicators per se. Okay. But so here's the SPY, right? We've had a down move in the SPY. And one question is, well, was that predictable? And it was. Now, never know how far it's going to go down. So I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I knew it was going to come down to 430. But we had this Laguerre trigger, this white dotted line, okay, triggering short. But then for the first time, let me just make this really small to see. For the first time, you see all this time, the cloud stayed green. You see that? And then finally on November 17th, it gave in, okay? It said uncle. All right, so the fact that that happened, you know, it doesn't surprise you that we're having a little bit larger move down right now, okay? The cloud kind of predicted that, so did Hackenacci here, okay? But what's interesting, then when we had that pullback back up to the cloud rejected it. You see how it came and rejected it, and then it's rolled back over. That's where it can help you. So if you're looking to re-enter short here, okay, once it held at the top of the cloud, or if it holds at the bottom of the cloud in a more aggressive trend, okay, you can then look to re-enter. So there's so many ways to do that. But right now, on the spider, based off of where the cloud's at, you see how it's widening, okay? I'm more bearish than bullish right now, okay? Now, just from a technical standpoint, you know, there's been a lot of support here and here. So what may happen is maybe we'll continue down and finally break through here and then go down to roughly 422, okay? Look, we are going to head higher, folks, okay? This is not going to be a crash that never comes down. It's going to give you great opportunities long. So if you're not a short seller, you're going to have some great opportunities here in the near future. And what this system will show you is, when is that time coming? When is it going to happen? Okay. And that's what's important to understand. So no, this wasn't predictable. It was going to head down this far, but when the cloud turned red, it was fine. That was different than what's happened in the past here. Okay. We knew that we had a good opportunity that we were going to have a little bit bigger downturn. Okay. And then when it did come back up and then it got kicked out from the cloud back to the downside, okay, that was definitely, and so what I'm looking for now is the cloud to get thinner if I'm looking to do a long play, okay, where if it continues to get wider, we're going to continue to go lower, okay. Okay, so let me just bring up some examples here to show you. So here's an example like on Palladium, okay, we got a change here back from green to red, okay, and the overall longer term picture you can see is to the downside, right? From left to right on your screen, it's pointing down. So if your bias is to look for short plays, okay, once it turns red again, now you have your potential entry. And what's beautiful about this is you see how it's still wide. That channel is still wide, okay? What that's telling you is if you're in this trade right now, in my opinion, okay, based off my indicator, then there's really not a reason to exit the full position anyway, right? Now we're getting some divergence, which we haven't had. So maybe we're getting really close to a bottom here. But as far as exiting that position, there's really no reason to do so at this point. Okay? It can be very helpful, okay? Just like oil, right? USO. Okay, again, left to right, we're in an uptrend, okay? We're in an uptrend. And then you're going to have movements within that, right? This is a daily chart, folks. I guess I should have said that right from the beginning, okay? You can use any time frame. But once we turn back to green here, okay, and this was a trade I did live for a long play on oil, okay? Now, the channel is still wide. You see that? And so it continues to go higher and higher and higher. And that's how you can manage your position. You see how we had this move down on oil, and the cloud kicked it out again and started going higher. In an uptrend, you always have retracements, right? That's what that is right here. In a downtrend, same thing here. You'll have retracements. But the real question is it going to hold? And I've designed the cloud to really give you a perspective. If it comes below here and then continues down and the cloud starts narrowing, then you know, okay, it looks like a trend change actually going to come at this point. But if it keeps getting rejected here at the bottom of the cloud, to go higher, there's no reason to exit this trade, okay? I'm still long. I trade futures as well, right? This works on anything, right? So I trade futures, the dollar index, right? I've been long in this for a while, and you can see we got a trigger here. The cloud turned back to green, and it's just been kind of following up high on that. Okay, so again, why would I exit this trade yet? You don't ever want to say I've made enough money, okay? Because I don't think you've ever had a time where TD Ameritrade's called you on a loss and said, you know what, we're going to give you some of that money back because we feel bad that you lost some money on that trade, right? Well, you want to maximize your profits, folks. When you get winners, you got to do whatever you can to maximize winners, okay? You're never going to get the top and the bottoms, okay? Anyone promises you that, they're full of you know what. But why would I exit this yet? Like, what if I would have exited right here? Okay, look at all that money I'm giving up. Okay, and first of all, if you're familiar with Hakanachi candles, I mean, solid, solid, solid. This thing wants to keep climbing. Okay, it wants to keep climbing. Okay. All right, so a couple stocks like Union Pacific. I want to show some bearish moves as well, right? So again, the cloud changed to red, and look at that. When it's barely piercing the bottom of the cloud, okay, there's no reason to exit this trade. And then you can see the cloud kicked it out to go lower again. And then obviously a lot of things in the market is going lower today. But again, there was no reason during this move down to even think of exiting. It's getting wider, wider, prices going down, 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 and so forth. Okay. And when you have these trades, as a suggestion, okay, if you can, like, let's say you were going to take this long play here, okay. Once you can put your stop, right below a recent swing, or if you're in here and you're trying to do a trailing stop because you're making money, right? You can just keep putting it down where the top of the cloud is as an idea. Okay, so you can use it to manage your positions as well. That way, if it breaks above the top of the cloud, you're out. Okay, you made your money, you're out. Okay, but as long as it stays like this, there's no reason. Okay, there's no reason. And if you would have had your stop here, top of the cloud, that wick didn't get you. Right now, you're continuing to make your money. Okay, you can do it many ways. Okay, I'm just showing you some ideas. Right, Home Depot. All right, so went back. Big picture from left to right. It's in the uptrend, right? Home Depot, and then we had a short-term red movement there. Now we're back to green. Okay, and then you can see how we continued higher, hit the top of the 2.5 standard Bollinger Band. Okay, so what do I look for? So like on a day like today where a market's coming down, okay, I'm not looking to short this. Okay, so what I'm looking for is, man, I hope this cloud can stay green. And then you can see the beautiful seasonal too, by the way. But if we get a turnaround here, when we do, I should say, okay, now we're going to have a great long play. You're going to get in much cheaper than if you were up here, right? So we have specific rules. And again, a lot of times what will happen is you'll have a retracement like we did here and the cloud stays green. Your bias is still to the upside. Okay, so then you can continue to get in based off of that. Okay. Okay, so this is kind of review. And again, I'll link this in the previous webinar I did on that. Okay, because the scanning is not going to take long. So I didn't want to have everybody here and only have a 10-minute presentation. I feel like that's a waste of your time then. So the question is, okay, so I designed a scan, right? Thinkorswim allows scans. So if I click on scan here, okay, I have a design where all you need to pick is your time frame. It defaults to daily, okay, but you can do 5-minute, 4-hour, monthly, weekly, whatever you want, okay? And then I have it scanning in weeklies, which are stocks with weekly expirations. But again, you can change that to anything you want, okay? And then I hit scan. And then what happens is it brings up, these are all weekly stocks in this case, but again, you can pick anything you want that have changed colors on the cloud, okay? Today. So I'm going to bring one up, and there's a couple ways of doing this. First, I'll show you the first way. You just right click, and I like to send it to my red chain link here because that's what I have right here. Okay. And again, you're not going to see all these perfectly because remember, it just changed. Okay. But this is red now. Okay, this is red now. So again, you can look at something like ABC and you can say, hey, is this a trade based on a trend change I'm looking to go short on? Okay, this one doesn't interest me, but again, it's just a tool. It's just a tool, right? Now, the other way, instead of doing this for every single one, okay, what you can do is you can go over here to these three squares. You can say save as a watch list, okay? And then you can put, let's say today's date, 9-30. See how I put 9-30, I'm gonna hit save, okay? Now I'm gonna go up to my watch list, and I'm gonna go to the personal. I'm gonna go to that one I just did, which is 9-30. You see that? Let's see, not that one, where is it? Down here, 9-30, okay? So now I've got the watch list of all of the scan I just did for today, okay? So now we can just kind of go through them. Here's Broadcom, okay? So you're like, well, why is that on the scan? Because again, it went from a green cloud to a red cloud today, which again is hard to see because it just went to red, right? So if it continues down, the cloud will continue like it did here, right? You can decide, hey, is this an opportunity for me to go short today, okay? Then you can go to the next one. Okay, here's another one. Okay, now so far I like this one the best out of the three because why? It seems to be a lot of support right here, right? And then it comes right back down. So maybe now is a good potential entry point. Okay, the Laguerre's triggering and everything else. So if I was looking to short, that might be a good one from a cloud change perspective. Okay, and again, so let me go to scan, and let me scan. You can scan anything you want. So let me do futures. Okay, let me see if there's any futures that have a cloud change, and there are. So here's Cocoa. Let me bring up Cocoa. And you see how now the cloud went back to green today, okay? And what's nice about this one is a couple of things. Let me just show you, okay? See how it just went to green here, okay? It might be hard to see on your thing, but it barely went red. So the dominant trend is an uptrend, which we all know I love to go in the direction of the trend, right? Okay. And so as you can see here, let me clear this old stuff out. You can see here, now the cloud's going there, and now this might be a good opportunity to make money on this up until this support or resistance, I should say, right here. Okay. On that. So again, you can scan anything you want. You can even go in here and say, okay, I want to scan off one of my personal watch lists. Okay. A lot of us keep personal watch lists, right? Or you could even say something like, okay, within stocks, I only want to use it with the percent gainers, losers, right? This is all public stuff with Thinkorswim with this part of it, or maybe just ETFs. Okay. You get to pick. Okay. You get to pick. Okay. That's what the scan, the real power again is the behind the scenes scanning for that, right? The programming behind it. You can then decide what you want to scan in. Okay. Any questions on that? So Ed, I answered your change there, right? On change color. Okay. And then Sean, Dr. P, is your cloud rational the same? No, has nothing to do. I don't even know Ikamocho. I mean, the formula, first of all, okay? Mine is totally different. It's not meant to even compete with Ikamocho. What it's basically doing for me personally is showing me a trend based off of my own ingredients, okay? My own ingredients. I've never mashed it up to a cloud. I have no idea what it would look like if you looked at the cloud with it, okay? Good question. So Mike says, can the cloud be confirmation? Yeah, so let me show you, Mike, how obviously how I use it with my other tools, okay? And I don't usually do this because I don't want to, I've done this when I first started doing webinars and then I confuse people. You don't need all other stuff, right? You can use this as its own. But in saying that, so let's say, for example, we're looking at something like the S&P, okay? And so what Mike's asking here is once you get a confirmation, so like in here, we got a Laguerre trigger, right, Mike? And then the red Hackenacci, okay? So the confirmation, if you're waiting for the cloud, would have been right here then. So you would have got in right here, okay, as from the cloud turning color. But you can also get in a little early if you want to, because the cloud is getting really, really thin, right? And just realize that, that's an 8 out of 10 trade percentage wise, in my opinion, where if you wait for the cloud then as well, that's a 10 out of 10, okay? The best of the best. So absolutely though, you can look at triggers, so let's look at some Laguerre triggers here just to show you. So these are some new triggers today with the Laguerre, okay? And but what I want to show you is, so when it turns back to green here, this is CBOE, but what I like about it is what? Okay, now we're back to green. We got a Laguerre trigger, green Hackenacci. Here's what I love about this opportunity, okay? If you got in here just as an example, right? Maybe your stop loss is right below this wick here, okay? So maybe this is your stop loss, right? And then you can get profit up to these recent highs as an opportunity. So risk is less than the reward, right? So absolutely. The reason why I developed the cloud instead of just using moving averages is I find moving averages, which again, part of this formula has moving averages in it, not quite as accurate. This just like Hackenacci, right? It doesn't overreact. And that's what I like about it. I am not an overreaction trader. I look to, take advantage of trends when we can, or sideways markets. If you have a nice sideways market, those can be really good opportunities as well, okay? Yeah, and by the way, Harshid, if you purchase the scan, there's a video that walks you through how to do it, just so you're aware. But yeah, so when you go to scan, okay, once you load it in here, which is throw up this setup, okay, all you do is you'll see a load scan, and then you'll just click on it, and then you can pick your scan and hit scan, okay? So it's a very simple process, but I lay that out in a video when people purchase it. So obviously it answers those questions, and I'm always here for support, but super simple, okay, super simple. Thinkorswim is meant for scans, okay? So it handles it very, very simply, okay? Good question, good question. Yeah, so, with stocks, if you scan once the market rings the bell at 9:30, wait a couple minutes, let it digest, you'll get, brand new information. Now, if you're trading something that trades 23 hours a day, like some futures, okay, as soon as that new bar opens up, it'll update for you. Okay, with stocks, it doesn't open up until like roughly 9:30, right? So yeah. The other thing is, remember, you can do any time frame you want. So you can do 5 minute, 4 hour, 1 hour, whatever you want. Okay, again, the goal here is to run a scan, like here's sugar. Okay, it just had a change in the cloud. Okay, now it's back, see how it's back to green. Okay, and so, again, you can use that. Overall, I like it long. We had this, sideways retracement. Now here we go. You can decide if that's a good trade for you. So just trying to give tools that I use, but that are really helpful in really aiding in your decision making. Okay. All right, let me go back to the slides here. So what I'm offering, if you don't have the cloud, some of you already purchased it before. If you don't have it, you want the cloud and the scan, I'll put the link in the chat, and you'll also get to see this in the email when it goes out later on today. Okay, but I'm offering this launch special at $698. If you already have the cloud, Magic Cloud, if you bought it from me and you just want the scan, okay, then you can just get the scan for $249. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, and then I'll go back, and if you want to see some in action, we got some time here, but what I'm looking for, let me grab my my links. I'll put it in there for you all. Okay, so this is the first link. If you don't have any of it, I believe. Oh, that's just a scan. And then right here, right there, Magic Cloud scan, Magic Cloud. Let's see, is that? Sorry about that. So you'll see it in there. One is the indicator and scan. And then the top one there is just the scan. You'll see the price difference. Okay. And again, that'll go out in the email later as well. Okay. But do you want to see anything just because you're curious on trend? Again, let me know. Go ahead and let me know what you want to see. But yeah, so if you get the scan and the cloud, what you get is you get this cloud, right? That'll come in, and then you also get it that will set up the scan, so you can do both. Okay. And again, what I like to do is when the market starts up, run the scan on whatever I want to run, add it to my watch list for the day, and I can just quickly go through them all, right? Like here's another one, Hood, right? It went back to red. Okay. So if you're looking to short something, Robinhood, right? Imagine that, right? Robinhood. Look at that. You got Laguerre trigger, changing the cloud. This is a really good short opportunity, in my opinion, on Robinhood. Okay. Oh, thanks, Larry. Appreciate that. Appreciate that as always. So as far as scanning, Ed, what do you trade? So I know stocks, futures, forex. What do you trade? Stock. So what happens is if you're looking at a daily chart, so let's say we have Apple just as an example. Okay. When the market closes at the end of the day today, okay, let's say the cloud turned green, which obviously is not going to, but let's assume it did. Okay. It won't actually open up the next bar, right? The way Thinkorswim works until tomorrow morning. Okay. So the scan showing green for that stock will happen at 9:30 when you run the scan. Okay. The other thing though is if you run it at night, you're going to grab the stuff from that day anyway, right? And then you may decide that you're looking at it based off of that day. Okay. But for stocks that run from 9:30 to 4, Thinkorswim only allows it to update when the new bar opens up. So it's at 9:30. Okay. At 9:30. Yep. Absolutely, Howard. Absolutely. You can do that. Let me put that in there for you as well. Or why don't you, it's on my website, but why don't you email me? Because if I put too many links in, I'll get people confused. That's right. You can scan. That's absolutely right. So let's say you went to scan here. Okay, let's put in weeklies. So I'm going to go to public, R-W weeklies. So these are stocks with weekly expirations. And let's say I'm going to change it to a 4-hour. Okay, you just click on here. You go to 4 hours scan. Okay, now it's calculating 4-hour scan. You see it thinking? It's a lot to go through. And sometimes it holds up when I'm doing webinars, but it will finish here in a second. And then while we're waiting, I'll put this chart to 4 hours just so that you can then see how that works. Okay, so bear with me as I'm waiting. See, it's waiting for results. It doesn't usually take this long. Yeah, there's about what, 800 weeklies right now, something like that. There's quite a bit. Here, let me try something. Let me go to S&P. Public S&P 100. Let's just try that. That'll be quicker. Should be anyway. There. All right. So let me grab Citi. Okay. I'm just going to grab it to take a look at it on the chart off the 4-hour. See how it just turned red right here, the cloud. Okay. So yeah, you use any time frame you want. Okay. Use any time you want. Yep. I know what some day traders have been doing is they'll create a watch list of 1-hour time frames. And then when it turns, the cloud changes color on the 1 hour, they'll go to a 5-minute chart and go in that direction when they get their own triggers. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And, the bottom line is it's giving you a tool to see when we're shifting in based off that time frame. Okay. Good question. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sure others had that. Okay, so any questions on that? Then I'll answer Steve's call or question here. So this is totally separate, but I don't want you to leave this webinar not knowing what these lines are that he's asking. Okay, so these are Hackenacci candles. Okay, meaning if you go to style, you change it. You know, if you normally use candle, it looks like this, right? So I put these lines in to show when something opens and closes. Okay, the red is the close, the white is the open. So when you have regular price candles, it's obvious, right? Because you have the wicks and stuff. But when you look at Hackenacci, okay, they don't have that. You don't know what actual price did. So on this candle here, this up candle, okay, by looking at the chart, you don't know. So what this is showing you is this price, even though we had a green Hackenacci candle, it opened on the white line, it closed on the red. Okay, I just had that programmed in because I don't like to look back and forth on different charts. Okay. Okay. Again, I told you it wouldn't take long. If you have any other questions on anything, reach out to me. I'll put my email in there again. Oh, let me show one more slide though. Hold on. Dr. Keith at seasonaltraderpro.com. But let me show you something. I always forget. Let me bring up these slides. So on the last slide, folks, so I have a lot of different, support. This is my personal cell, first of all. Okay, if I don't answer, I'm not screening, I'm out riding my horse or something. Okay, but here's my Facebook page. Okay, here's my YouTube channel, and then we have every other week a live webinar registration. Okay, so when you get, I'm going to paste this all in there, but I'll have my ladies put this in the email they send, so that, use these resources. I mean, I do a lot of YouTube videos on different things and that. And so if you don't have that information, it's useful. Okay. My number one, and it will be on TradeStation, just not yet. Okay. Just not yet. I always start out with Thinkorswim. I use it, and then I migrated over to TradeStation. Okay. So probably by Christmas. All right, so again, thanks for attending. If you have any questions, reach out. Good to see a lot of you. We get into October. It's my favorite time coming up. So keep in touch with me. Try to attend my every other Wednesday webinars. And folks, I'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye now.